Hello, and welcome to Candidates Up Front. This is a public interest election program of Berks Community Television and the League of Women Voters of Berks County. I'm Judith Cranus. Our May 20th municipal primary election is fast approaching. Democrats and Republicans will select their candidates for judges, school directors, and township, borough, and city officials. This is the election where Democrats and Republicans choose the candidates who will represent them on the November ballot. However, when there is a question on the ballot, as there is in the Kutztown School District, all registered voters in that district vote on the question. It's not just Democrats and Republicans. Any registered voter should come and vote. To check your voting status, you can go online to vote.pa.gov. And that is the official state Pennsylvania website. It's a government site, very safe. And there you can register to vote. You can change your party. You can locate your polling place, or you can apply for an absentee or mail-in ballot. And the deadline to register is May 5th. The deadline to apply for a mail-in ballot is May 13th. Now, the League, in its part, is interviewing those candidates who want to be interviewed in the contested races. For each race, the candidates will get the same basic questions and have the same amount of time to answer them. Let's begin. Hello, I'm Judith Cranus, a member of the League. 3 candidates are competing for a chance to be judge of the Court of Common Pleas. They are all cross-filed, which means they are on the ballot for both the Democrat and the Republican Party. You can vote for them whichever you are. The 3 candidates are Catherine Lynn Lehman, Lauren Marks, and Eric J. Taylor. Now, voters across the county will vote for one to be on the fall ballot representing their party. The Court of Common Pleas, it hears the trials of major criminal and civil matters. It hears matters involving children and families, and it hears appeals from minor courts. The term for a common pleas judge is 10 years, and the current salary is $227,411. Now, please remember that the opinions expressed in this interview are those of the candidate. They're not those of the League or of BCTV. Our interview today is with Catherine Lynn Lehman. That's the name on the ballot. We want to make sure you get that info. So welcome, Catherine.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. Could you start by telling our viewers a little bit about yourself and why you're running?
Absolutely. So I am a lifelong Berks County resident. I grew up in Exeter Township, and I have dedicated my career to public service. I have been a prosecutor in the District Attorney's Office, which is my current role, where I'm the supervisor of the Drug Task Force, and I prosecute violent crimes, homicides, armed robberies, shootings. Prior to my career in the District Attorney's Office, I was a public defender, and I spent 5 years as a public defender. And then what actually led me to the Public Defender's Office is I was a social worker. I started my career as a social worker working with delinquent teenagers, and the goal there was to keep those children in the home. And so I'm running for judge because I believe in Berks County, I believe in this community, and I believe that I bring the experience through all of those paths, the social work, the public defenders, and being a prosecutor, and I feel that I can serve the residents of Berks County, ensuring that they're safe, ensuring that justice is handled appropriately, and that there's a fair and impartial judge that overhears any type of case that comes before them.
Could you tell us just a little bit more about your educational background and other traits you may bring to this?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, I am a lifelong Berks County resident. I grew up in Exeter Township. I'm a graduate from Exeter High School. After high school, I went to Shippensburg University, where my goal was to be a social worker. I had suffered a family tragedy when I was in high school, and I had connected with a social worker. And when you're 18, you don't really know what you want to do. And so I went to college for social work and realized that I needed my master's in social work. And so I wanted to continue to serve. And I got my master's degree from Boston College. After Boston College, I moved back to the area and I started working with those delinquent teenagers as a multi-systemic therapist. And I would often go to court, in family court, in juvenile court, and advocate for those juveniles as to why they should be permitted to stay in the home and the progress that they were making. And I quickly realized that I didn't have enough legal basis to effectively do my job. So I continued that job working full-time, and I went to law school at Widener University in Harrisburg while I was still working full-time with those teenagers. So that's a little bit about my education.
So you've had a lot of different.
I have, yes.
Yes. What about personal qualities that you would bring to the bench to help you be effective?
Well, like I said, I've worked on both sides of the aisle in criminal court, and I believe in doing the right thing. I know that sounds very generic, but in the district attorney's office, we have a lot of power over individuals' lives. And I mean, whether it's the victim's life, the witnesses, the defendant's life, and that's something that I take very seriously. We have an obligation to do the right thing, even when it may not be the popular opinion or the easiest decision to make. There are real people on the other end of every decision that I make, and that's something that I take very seriously. In addition to that role, I have the trial courtroom experience. I'm in court every single day, where I try some of the most serious cases in Berks County, and I believe that I have the right temperament to bring that to the bench.
Are you involved in any volunteer community work that you'd like to share with us?
I am. I am currently the president of the Berks County Field Hockey Officials, so I have been in that role maybe 7 to 8 years. I'm also an active official for middle school and high schools in Berks County, and I do some collegiate field hockey officiating. In addition to that, my husband and I were both active members of the Onalani Grange, which is a great opportunity to give back to our community and to serve the needs, whatever they may be. And I'm on the Women to Women Governance Council.
Let's say you're on the bench and you've got a jury there and you're going to explain to them what their duties are and why it's important that they serve. What would you be telling them?
Well, the role of the juror is critical. We cannot have this justice system without jurors. So what I'm always looking for when I am picking a jury is an individual who comes from a diverse background. We don't want a one-size-fits-all. We want someone who has had real-life experience and someone who can listen to the evidence that's presented in court, whether it's in civil court or criminal court, and someone who can listen to that and apply that to the law that's read by the judge. So we want someone who comes in with a clean slate, who's fair, impartial, and is willing to listen and make decisions that's based on the evidence that's presented in court. And I can't say it enough, we cannot have this judicial system that we have, which quite frankly I think is one of the best in the world, and real lives are at stake when you have a jury trial. So whether, like I said, it's civil and it's medical malpractice or a contested hearing, we need jurors who can come in and listen to the evidence and make fair decisions.
Thank you. If you're elected, what area would you prefer to serve in? The criminal, the civil, the family, one of the special courts? And tell us why that would be your choice if you had that choice to make.
Okay, well, it's definitely not up to the candidate or the next judge. That decision is made by the president judge as what I would prefer. I'm comfortable serving in any court. Most of the special courts, like drug treatment, those are judges who serve either in family court or civil or criminal, so it's not a specialized judge who sits in one area unless it's juvenile court. But I would be comfortable in civil, family, or criminal. I have most of my experience in criminal court, but those individuals, often I'm dealing with issues with domestic violence. So there's PFAs that come into place, there's custody issues. And so I would be comfortable serving in any areas. I'm very comfortable with the rules of evidence.
And I should note for our viewers, PFA is the Protection from Abuse Order.
That's
So,
correct,
yeah.
yes.
But home viewers aren't as familiar with the jargons as people in the field are,
Yes,
so
sorry.
we try to make sure they're clear. Do you think we should have additional special courts?
I don't think we have a need currently for additional special courts. We have drug treatment court, we have veterans court, we have mental health court, and we have DUI treatment court. So those courts are running. We are often the model for other counties on how to base their programs. So that's something that that Berks County has worked very hard to do and ensure that it's fact-based and evidence-based, meaning that the programming, that the treatment is evidence-based. So that's something that I think we're pretty solid at, and they're very effective.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us about plea bargaining and what your views are on that? It's something people, I think, don't understand well enough to understand why that happens. Absolutely.
Like I said, I'm a prosecutor. That's what I do every day. We have thousands of cases that come through Berks County. Some of them are low-level crime and some of them are homicides. I've personally been involved in 19 homicide prosecutions. And we simply cannot try every single case. And quite frankly, not every defendant is interested in going to trial. A lot of individuals are interested in accepting responsibility and looking towards rehabilitation. So plea bargaining is essential to ensure that, one, victims aren't re-traumatized by having to get up and explain to 12 strangers the terrible thing that happened to them, that witnesses and victims aren't missing serious amounts of time of work, and that the defendant is able to accept responsibility and work towards improving their own life so that we don't have repeat offenders.
Mm-hmm. When you do have somebody who's convicted as a criminal, what factors should be considered in the sentencing of that individual?
So the Sentencing Commission has already designated factors that all judges must consider when sentencing someone, such as the age of the offender, the age of the victim, the seriousness of the crime, their prior history, as well as, again, that scale of the low-level offenses to the major serious violent crime. So that's something that we already are taking into consideration, one, when we're even doing those plea bargainings, but something that we consider when we're making recommendations after trial. So the other factors that I think, again, coming from a background of social work and recognizing that a lot of crime is committed because of mental health issues, drug addiction issues, the factors that I would want to consider is how is it that we're going to prevent this person from coming before the court again, from reoffending. And so if there are factors or treatment requirements that we can put in place to help ensure that we're doing the right thing, again, for the victim, for the families involved, for the defendant, I think we have an obligation to do that and to consider those things.
Well, you've kind of answered the next question, was when is an alternate to jail appropriate? But if you'd like to say more on that, we have a little time to do that.
Sure. Like I said, I've been involved in numerous murder investigations, and my opinion is violent crime needs to be prosecuted and sentenced appropriately. We have innocent people who have lost their lives due to violent crime. But I do believe that there's a strong need for the residents of Berks County to work on rehabilitation so that way we're not continuing to do and see the same individuals in court. So if we can work towards helping those individuals become productive members of society, I think that putting someone in jail for 1 month isn't going to do anything other than they're going to lose their housing, they're going to lose their job if they had one. And so we need to work to make sure that we're holding individuals accountable, but we're doing what's right for the community. And sometimes incarceration is very expensive, and so we have to make sure that we're considering all aspects of that.
Mm-hmm. And Under what circumstances would you recuse yourself from a case?
Well, I think the obvious is when I know a party, when I have a close personal relationship with one of those individuals or one of their family members. But I think the less obvious and, quite frankly, sometimes more important time to recuse yourself is when there's the appearance of a conflict. The judicial system is so important, and it can only work if there's transparency. So I would never want one of my decisions to be questioned because of the appearance of a conflict. There are plenty of other judges that will be willing to step up and say, okay, I can handle this case, and because it would be few and far between. But I do believe that having that transparency is what makes our criminal justice system effective and fair.
Mm-hmm. And how are you funding your campaign? Countywide is bigger than running for something smaller.
Yes. So funding is obviously an issue. I have been a public servant. I've had plenty of opportunities to go into private practice, but public service is what calls to me. So my husband and I have relied on our other family members to help support our campaign, as well as we've hosted a series of fundraisers to help support that. So I don't have a huge budget for that.
Most of us don't have huge budgets these days for anything.
Right,
So
that's very true.
That's true. Now, please tell our home viewers, why is the position of judge so important that people should come out to vote for that?
Well, the judicial branch is 1/3 of our government. You may not ever appear in criminal court, but you will certainly know someone who has been affected by a decision that a judge has made, whether it's, again, in criminal court because you have a family or friend who was a victim of a crime, whether you have a family or friend who owned a business and there's a business dispute, if you have someone who's going through a divorce and custody issue. You need judges who have the experience, who have handled difficult situations, and that bring that experience to the bench, and they can make fair and impartial decisions because it affects our everyday life. And maybe it's affecting your life and you haven't even stepped into the courtroom, but you know someone who's had their life affected by a decision that a judge has made in Berks County.
Mm-hmm. And I think we have about a minute for any closing statement you would like to make.
Wonderful, thank you. So I'm the only candidate who is running for judge that has handled multi-day, difficult, complex, violent crime cases. And I say that because it is important that the residents of Berks County remain safe, that they have a judge who has the experience of holding individuals accountable, that are comfortable in making tough decisions. That's something that I do every day in the district attorney's office, and I'm honored to have served in the district attorney's office and the public defender's office. I bring a unique background of social work with that prosecution, so I am capable of making decisions that are right for the defendant and right for the victims. I believe in following the letter of the law and the spirit of justice, and that's why I've been endorsed by our District Attorney, John Adams, as he knows that I'm the right candidate for this position. And I believe no matter the area of law that I'm on the bench at, I have the experience to bring that courtroom experience to the bench and make sure that the residents of Berks County are served appropriately.
Thank you. Viewers, this was Catherine Lynn Lehman, who's been sharing her views on Common Pleas Court, which is the judges that we have in Berks County. I have to remind you there are 2 more candidates for judge, and all will be appearing on both the Democrat and the Republican ballot. The other 2 candidates are Lauren Marks and Eric J. Taylor, and you may vote for one of the 3. We also have to remind you to find those other interviews or interviews on any of the other candidates who are in contested races. You want to go to Candidates Up Front on bctv.org. Things will be on both their website and their YouTube page. So if you go to YouTube, you just type in BCTV on the search bar, and it will bring you to these interviews. For more information on more candidates, because we couldn't interview all of them, go to the League's online voters guide, vote411.org. That's vote411.org. It asks for your address so it can pinpoint where you live to make sure you have the information of who's on your particular ballot. And if you don't want to use your address, put in an address near you of any public building and you'll still get the same information. Especially if you use your polling place. If you know your polling place address, that's a good one to put in because that for sure will be what's on your ballot. If you need more information on any of the election procedures, the staff at our Berks County Election Services is very helpful, and that's elections@berkspa.gov, elections@berkspa.gov, or you can phone them at 610-478-6490. And thank you for watching Candidates Up Front.